Let's talk about a story about a fire, a library, and a loss so immense it's almost impossible to really wrap your head around.
I mean, just imagine that for a second. An institution, the absolute peak of learning, of wisdom, just gone. Not faded away, but violently wiped from existence. Well, that's the incredible and tragic story we're getting into right now.
So to really get a sense of the scale here, let's just look at the numbers. At its absolute peak, this place was home to 10,000 students. 10,000! I mean, try to picture that. This was a scholarly metropolis thriving centuries before the famous universities of Europe even opened their doors.
And get this, it wasn't just the students. This place had 2,000 professors on staff. So we're not talking about some small, quiet monastery. This was a vibrant, bustling city of knowledge, a magnet for the greatest minds of its time.
You had scholars making these incredibly dangerous journeys from as far away as China, Korea, Tibet, all over Southeast Asia, all of them drawn to this single point of light. It was a truly global center for learning, a place where the entire world came to think.
So, what was it that drew all these brilliant minds there? It wasn't just about one subject. No, this was an institution dedicated to understanding pretty much the entire universe.
And what's just incredible is how modern their curriculum sounds. They're pushing medical science and surgery forward, making huge breakthroughs in mathematics, studying the stars and having these intense philosophical debates. This was a university in the truest sense of the word, a place for all knowledge.
And right at the very heart of it all was its library. It even had this amazing name that just perfectly captured what it was, Dharma Gunj, which translates to the Mountain of Truth. It wasn't just a building with books. It was seen as a physical collection of all human wisdom.
And the size of this library, it's just staggering. We're talking about 3 massive, multi-story buildings. One was called Ocean of Jewels, another Sea of Jewels. They held millions of handwritten manuscripts, making it one of the largest and most important libraries anywhere in the ancient world.
For over 700 years, this beacon of knowledge just flourished. But then, in a single terrible moment in history, everything changed.
I mean, just look at this timeline. 7 centuries of continuous learning, of gathering and creating knowledge. And then, in the year 1193, it just stops. A sudden, violent end. So what on earth happened?
Well, a Turkic general named Bakhtiyar Khilji was leading an invasion through the region. His army stumbled upon the university's grand, fortified walls and made a fatal mistake. They saw a fortress, not a center for learning.
They couldn't have been more wrong. Behind those walls, there weren't soldiers. There were thousands of unarmed monks and scholars, people who had dedicated their entire lives to peace and learning.
The invaders sacked the university, and the Mountain of Truth was set on fire. It said that the smoke from the burning manuscripts just hung in the air for 3 whole months. A vast ocean of knowledge on medicine, math, philosophy, all of it just turned to ash.
The loss was, well, it's incalculable. It wasn't just the end of a university, it was the end of an entire era of thought.
And now we can give it its name. This legendary place was Nalanda. Located in what is now Bihar, India, Nalanda was the intellectual heart of the ancient world, and its destruction was a catastrophic blow to our shared human heritage. The human cost was just as devastating. Thousands of scholars were slaughtered, and with them died not just their own wisdom, but the knowledge from countless texts that existed absolutely nowhere else on Earth. Gone. Forever.
So why does a story from nearly 1,000 years ago still matter so much today? Because the fall of Nalanda is a powerful, timeless warning for all of us.
You know, the fall of Nalanda is such a stark reminder of just how fragile knowledge really is. How easily centuries of progress can be wiped out by ignorance and violence. It really forces us to think about how we protect our own cultural heritage and why it's so important to champion different ways of thinking. Because history shows us, time and again, that fanaticism only ever leads to destruction.
And that leaves us with a really critical question. Our libraries, our universities, the internet, these are our modern mountains of truth. So how do we make sure they don't suffer the same fate as Nalanda? But you know, the story doesn't end completely in tragedy. The spirit of Nalanda, it turns out, is a lot harder to extinguish than its library was. Today, the ruins are a protected UNESCO World Heritage Site, a quiet monument to what it once was. And right nearby, a new Nalanda University has been established, trying to revive that ancient spirit of curiosity and global collaboration. A new beginning, literally rising from the ashes of the old.
Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer. We hope you'll come back to King's Academy for more educational videos just like this one.
And we'd love to know what you think of the content. Seriously, leave a comment below, because your feedback really does help us make our future content even better.
And of course, if anything was unclear or you have questions, just ask. We'll do our best to address them as soon as we can.